The handcuffs clicked shut with a sound Emily would remember for the rest of her life. At first, she laughed nervously, thinking Mark was joking, but his laughter never came. The lake house was quiet except for the wind brushing against the wooden walls. Mark suddenly went still, his weight collapsing forward, his face pale and lifeless. Emily called his name again and again, her voice cracking, until the truth settled like ice in her chest. He wasn't breathing. Panic surged through her body as she pulled against the cuffs, the metal biting into her wrists. The room smelled of sweat and pine wood, and the lamp on the bedside table flickered once before going steady. Outside, the lake reflected the moon like a black mirror. Emily screamed for help, but the sound died inside the empty house. No phone within reach. No neighbors for miles. As the hours passed, Mark's body grew cold beside her, and the silence pressed in harder than the darkness. That was when Emily realized this weekend wasn't meant to save her marriage. It was meant to test whether she would survive the night. Something moved outside the window, and Emily felt it before she saw it. Her throat was dry, her tongue heavy, every breath scraping like sandpaper. Mark's body lay twisted beside the bed, a reminder she couldn't escape. Then a shadow crossed the curtain, slow and deliberate. Emily held her breath as footsteps circled the house, stopping just beyond the bedroom door. The handle didn't turn. It never turned. Instead, the presence lingered, as if listening to her thoughts. Moonlight spilled across the floor, and in it stood a tall figure, barely human in shape, its face hidden in darkness. Emily squeezed her eyes shut, whispering prayers she hadn't spoken since childhood. When she opened them again, the figure was gone. Hours crawled by. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, fear gnawed at her mind. She began to wonder if she was hallucinating from shock and thirst. But just before dawn, she saw muddy footprints leading from the lake to the porch. They weren't Mark's. They were far too large. And they were facing inward. The voice sounded exactly like her own. Emily jerked her head toward the corner of the room, heart pounding, as a whisper repeated her name. There, standing in the shadows, was a version of herself, calm, cold, and smiling. It told her she deserved this, that she had always been weak. As daylight faded, the tall figure returned, standing just inside the doorway now, watching silently. Emily felt her mind splitting between fear and memory. She remembered the lake from her childhood, another summer, another scream swallowed by water. The figure's eyes gleamed faintly, as if recognizing her thoughts. You left someone there, the voice said, though its lips never moved. Emily cried until her tears ran dry. Blood trickled from her wrists where the cuffs had cut into her skin. The room felt smaller, tighter, like it was closing around her. She began to understand that the house was forcing her to face something she had buried for decades. And the thing watching her was not a stranger. It was waiting for her to remember. Pain became her only sense of time. Emily screamed as she pulled harder against the cuffs, skin tearing, metal scraping bone. The hunger was unbearable now, twisting her stomach into knots. The other Emily watched from the corner, whispering cruel encouragements. Outside, the tall figure stepped fully into the room for the first time. Its face came into focus, wrong, stretched, empty where eyes should be. It crouched beside Mark's body, touching his cold hand like it was inspecting a prize. Emily begged it to leave, promising anything. The figure turned its head slowly toward her, and she felt its attention crawl over her skin. Memories flooded her mind without mercy. The dock, the push, the splash, and the silence afterward. She had run away then, just like she wanted to run now. The figure straightened and moved closer to the bed. Emily realized it wasn't there to kill her. It was there to watch her decide what kind of person she truly was. The lake outside looked exactly the same as it had all those years ago. Emily stared through the window, trembling, as the truth finally surfaced. She had pushed her younger cousin into the water during a childish argument and never told anyone when he didn't come back up. The town called it an accident. She called it survival. The figure nodded as if satisfied, its presence heavy with judgment. You lived, the voice whispered, and he didn't. Emily sobbed, her chest aching with guilt she had buried her entire life. The cuffs felt tighter now, as if feeding on her confession. The other Emily smiled, fading slightly, her job almost done. Outside, the lake rippled unnaturally, as though something beneath it was stirring. Emily realized the house wasn't punishing her. It was demanding balance. Someone had to pay for what was taken, and the night wasn't over yet. The glass cut deep, and Emily nearly blacked out from the pain. She had managed to knock the lamp over, shattering it against the floor. Using the jagged edge, she sliced at her swollen wrist, tears streaming as blood soaked the sheets. The figure watched without stopping her. With a final scream, she pulled free, collapsing onto the floor, gasping. Freedom tasted like iron and agony. She crawled toward the door, leaving a trail of blood behind her. When she looked back, the bed was empty. Mark was gone. The cuffs lay open, harmless, like they had never held her. The figure stood one last time in the doorway, then slowly faded into the morning light. Emily dragged herself outside as the sun rose over the lake, feeling weaker with every breath. She didn't know if she had escaped justice or earned it. The police said there was no evidence of anyone else. Emily sat wrapped in a blanket, staring at the lake as they asked their questions. No footprints, no strange figure, just a tragic death and a traumatized woman. She was taken to a hospital, stitched up, and sent home with sympathy and silence. Weeks passed, but sleep never came easily. Every creak of the house made her heart race. She tried to convince herself it was over, that the lake house was behind her. But at night, she dreamed of water filling her lungs, of hands pulling her down. Sometimes she woke up certain someone was standing at the foot of her bed. Therapy helped her function, but it didn't erase the feeling that she had been judged and spared, for now. Emily returned to life, but part of her never left that room. At exactly 3:17 a.m., Emily woke up gasping. Her bedroom was dark, silent, familiar. She sat up slowly, telling herself it was just another nightmare. Then she noticed the reflection in the mirror. A tall shape stood behind her, unmoving. She didn't turn around. She already knew. The presence felt calm now, patient, as if it had all the time in the world. Emily whispered an apology she should have spoken years ago. The reflection smiled, not cruelly, but knowingly. When she blinked, the figure was gone. Emily lay back down, staring at the ceiling, understanding the truth at last. She had survived the chains, escaped the house, and rebuilt her life. But some debts are never fully paid, and some watchers never stop watching.